Hello, my friend. My name is Joshua Mugabi. I welcome you to Blood Bingo. Let's straight away go to our quiz. The largest of the white blood cells formed in the bone marrow, amoeboid, engulf bacteria and dead cells. Phagocytes. B. White blood cells. C. Monocytes. D. Lymphocytes. And the answer is C. Monocytes. Conditions of the blood resulting from a deficiency of hemoglobin. Symptoms include tiredness, paleness, and breathlessness after activity. A. Anemia. B. Rhesus factor. C. Warfarin. D. Hemoglobin. And the answer is A. Anemia. Blood plasma without fibrinogen. It does not clot. A. Fibrinogen. B. Blood. C. Serum. D. Oxyhemoglobin. And the answer is C. Serum. Coagulation, or the conversion of liquid blood into a solid clump of fibers in which blood cells are called A. Fibrinogen. B. Blood clotting. C. Blood transfusion. D. Blood grouping. And the answer is B. Blood clotting. Chemical used in large quantities in rat poison prevents the clotting of blood and rats die from excessive bleeding. Hemorrhaging. Using in small quantities in human medicine to prevent blood clotting. A. Fibrin. B. Hemoglobin. C. Serum. D. Warfarin. The answer is D. Warfarin. Classification of blood by the type of antigen present on the red blood capsule. A. Blood plasma. B. Blood group. C. Blood grouping. D. Blood transfusion. And the answer is C. Blood grouping. White blood cells that can engulf and destroy viruses and bacteria by phagocytosis. A. Monocytes. B. Phagocytes. C. thrombocytes, D. lymphocytes. And the answer is B. phagocytes. The innermost layer of cells lining the heart, blood vessels, and the lymphatic vessels and makes up the wall of the capillaries. A. Hemoglobin. B. Vesicular tissue. C. Endothelium. D. Erythrocytes. And the answer is C. Endothelium. Oxygen-carrying respiratory pigment containing iron, present in red blood capsule of animals, joins with oxygen to form an oxygen-rich compound. A. Hemoglobin. B. Blood transfusion. C. Oxyhemoglobin. D. Erythrocytes. And the answer is A. Hemoglobin. An antigen that may be present on the surface of red blood cells. People who have this antigen are described as rhesus positive, while those who lack the antigen are rhesus negative. A. Lymphocytes. B. Serum. C. Rhesus factor. D. Fibrin. And the answer is C. Rhesus factor. Clear liquid portion of blood composed of 90% water, in which red blood capsules, white blood cells, and platelets are suspended together with a number of dissolved substances. A. Blood plasma. B. Serum. C. Blood. D. Fibrinogen. And the answer is A. Blood plasma. Refers to the group of cells with a similar function involved in the transport of substances, i.e., xylem and phloem in plants and blood in animals. A. Blood groups. B. Vesicular tissue. C. Endothelium. D. Fibrinogen. And the answer is B. Vesicular tissue. Any one of the 4 types of blood into which human blood can be divided according to its compatibility in transfusions. This compatibility is based on the presence or absence of antigens on the red blood capsules and antigens in the serum. The main types are A, B, AB, and O. A. Blood groups. B. Blood protein. C. Blood grouping. D. Blood transfusion. And the answer is A. blood groups. Have a nucleus but no definite shape. Protects the body against disease. There are two main types, lymphocytes and monocytes, each with different functions. A. Lymphocytes. B. Erythrocytes. C. White blood cells. D. Thrombocytes. And the answer is C. White blood cells. Refers to a compound, for example, hemoglobin, which has oxygen removed from it. A. Hemolyzed. B. Deoxygenated. C. Oxygenated. D. Anemic. And the answer is B. Deoxygenated. Small fragments of larger cells formed in marrow, non-nuclei, important in blood clotting. A. Red blood cells. B. White blood cells. C. Phagocytes. D. Thrombocytes. And the answer is D. Thrombocytes. Oxygenated hemoglobin, i.e. hemoglobin with oxygen attached, formed in the red blood capsules as blood passes through the lungs. A. Oxyhemoglobin. B. Deoxygenated. C. Phagocytes. D. Hemoglobin. And the answer is A. Oxyhemoglobin. Protein found in blood converted to fibrin by thrombin. A. Lymphocytes. B. Phagocytes. C. Fibrinogen. D. Thrombocytes. And the answer is C. Fibrinogen. Biconcave discs have no nucleus and no mitochondria, made in bone marrow of long bones, for example, ribs, sternum. Contain hemoglobin, which is iron necessary for their formation. Joins with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin. A. Lymphocytes. B. Erythrocytes. C. Monocytes. D. Thrombocytes. And the answer is B. Erythrocytes. These are white blood cells that are formed in the bone marrow and bring about immune response. They include T cells and B cells. A. Lymphocytes. B. Erythrocytes. C. Monocytes. D. Thrombocytes. And the answer is A. Lymphocytes. The transfer of blood from one individual to another. The antigens of the donor must be compatible with the antibodies of the recipient. A. Blood grouping. B. Blood groups. C. Blood transfusion. D. Blood clotting. And the answer is C. Blood transfusion. Dear friends, thank you very much for participating in blood. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. I'm Joshua Mugabi. Bye bye for now.